This is the Nedgroup Investments podcast, where we explore a variety of views and insights that investors care about. Hello, I'm Tumisho Grater from Nedgroup Investments, Multi-Management. This installment of your market and economic wrap is titled South Africa to Reclaim Top Spot in Africa. Most of the world's economic policymakers were in Washington for the IMF World Bank spring meetings, which took place against a particularly tense geopolitical backdrop. This on the back of Iran having launched a huge drone and missile attack on Israel, while Russia appeared to be upping the ante with its invasion of Ukraine. The Iranian attack was, however, anticipated in advance, and with help from allies, Israel was able to limit the damage. Western leaders urged Israel to show restraint in its response to Iran. Earlier in the week, Iran warned that it would review its nuclear stance should Israel threaten its atomic sites. With that said, there was good news for global growth, with China's Q1 GDP beating expectations and the IMF lifting its global growth forecasts for 2024 once more. South Africa's economic data releases, however, were mixed, with the welcome downtick in CPI inflation but relatively poor internal trade data. The IMF projects that South Africa, which is Africa's most industrialized country, will become Africa's biggest economy with a GDP of $373 billion, a position the think tank expects to retain until 2027. Nigeria, once dubbed as Africa's largest economy, is set to relinquish its crown and slide to fourth place this year for similar reasons. Both countries have seen a downturn in their economic fortunes due to high inflation and a sharp devaluation of their currencies. In terms of equity markets, earlier last week, US equities were broadly lower as expectations of higher for longer interest rates strengthened, more than offsetting positive sentiment from firm bank earnings reports. While interest rates and geopolitical concerns will continue to linger over market sentiment, this week we'll see focus on earnings reports from the bellwether technology stocks. Companies including Tesla, Meta Platforms, American Airlines, Microsoft, and Alphabet are all set to report this week. Tesla reports after the bell on Tuesday, and Facebook parent Meta is on deck for Wednesday, while Intel and Microsoft are all reporting on Thursday. There is some potentially bigger news on the back part of this week, with US GDP due out on Thursday and a key inflation reading on Friday in the form of US PCE inflation data. The market consensus is for core PCE inflation rate, which is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, to come in marginally lower at 2.7% from 2.8% in February. On the currency front, the rand suffered from the broad-based dollar strength we saw last week as markets further scaled back US Fed rate cut expectations. Of course, the stronger dollar or weaker euro and rand may prevent the European Central Bank and the SARB from cutting interest rates. While both have made it clear that they watch and not follow the US Fed, they are definitely keeping a hawk's eye on currency developments. Weaker currencies tend to fuel inflation, and should the banks no longer see inflation slow, rate cuts will be off the table. Unfortunately for domestic consumers, this is probably more true for South Africa than the Eurozone, as our currency is under some more pressure amid South African and emerging market idiosyncrasies. The rand was trading just shy of the 19 Rand 20 mark against the US dollar at the end of Friday's trading session. The local unit weakened from 1886 from the previous Friday's trading session. Local inflation data, which saw CPI lower than the market consensus in March, offer little support for the rand. We have come to the end of our note. Until next time, do take care from the Multi-Management team. Nedgroup Collective Investments is an authorized collective investments scheme manager in terms of the Collective Investments Schemes Control Act. Nedgroup Investments does not provide advice on financial products and will only give you factual information. For further details on our funds and to view our terms and conditions, please visit nedgroupinvestments.co.za. Nedgroup Investments. See money differently.